It's very nice that a lot of you came. We moved our larger locations. It's over 500 people, and we already reached capacity. So my team is trying to actually set up a live stream. I feel so bad, but we'll try to do more town halls, so maybe try to do some more remotely. But unfortunately, there are rules, and we cannot accommodate more people inside. But we'll try to do live streams. But in the meantime, before they're working on that, I want to invite Sergeant Bertrand to lead us in Pledge and Allegiance. And actually, I don't think any other elected officials in Indiana are doing that. And there's a lot of, my team is very stressed out, police stressed out. I really would like to actually thank all of the police officers here and all our military people for their service to our public safety. Can you stand up for a second? Thank you, and I promise them that I'll behave, but I hope we can have a conversation. So I know communication with all of you. I also have my team, I think they're all over here, but I have a few of my team member, David, he's running my constituent services, and he's doing a great job. He works already for my team here. David, I have Ryan, he came from DC, and JP, he's actually from here. I have the rest of the team somewhere around, but if I get a chance, maybe I'll introduce them at the end, but they work very hard, and I'll be honest with you, they're very nervous because there's a lot of drama happening. So if you get upset, just please scream at me, not on them. Please do, because they're serving the government and serving you as everyone else, but I hope we'll have a conversation. So what are we going to do? There are some issues that are very hot ticket items, so I will cover them at the beginning. The issues that I get a lot of requests, and the issues that we want to start. We'll have someone who is not partisan, who's done a lot of debate, and who can help us, to do that and kind of look at questions, make sure that we can have an organized conversations. And if you have anything specific for me or the team, will try at the end of the town hall, just talk with you in person and try to answer your questions if they're more personal build questions, but we'll try our best. The ones we don't answer, my team is going to log into the system, and you're still going to get a response. But she'll try to make sure that questions will get relevant for a larger group of people, because there are a lot of questions and can be redundant too. So I want to thank Laura. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. With something that a lot of you probably know, some maybe not, that actually I'm a CPA, and I did accounting for a living for over decades. So when I ran for Congress in 2020, the biggest issues I felt we face is our financial situations, because if we don't have money, trillions, but 7 trillion. So obviously we have a 2 trillion shortfall, right? So annual shortfall. We'll see our debt reach levels of World War II, which was very temporary debt due to the war. This is becoming a permanent debt, it's growing more and more. So our debt situation is becoming more and more dire. We spend over $1 trillion just on interest, more than national defense. And when we refinance bonds, now with a higher interest rates, we'll be spending roughly half of our revenue just on interest. So if we don't do something about this situation, we will have no money to be able to provide benefits that we promised. And I think that is very unfair if we don't. So we have to make sure that we do a better job, how we can make government efficient, and how we can make sure we deliver on promises. It seems like it used to be a bipartisan issue, but unfortunately, actually President Obama passed very significant legislation on government efficiency, and he tried to do some things, but unfortunately government needs some new tools and mechanisms and technologies that hasn't been used, and a lot of things were not accomplished. And if you see, all of the major funds are going solvent. 28, Highway Fund, Medicare 31, and Social Security 33. If we don't figure something out, there are going to be automatic cuts, and we want to avoid that. So how can we avoid them? We can do listen, even if we take all of the money from the richest people, we will not be able to pay enough for that. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. And listen, at some point, everything will be at the table in discussion. What we try to do right now, in the current environment, we try to do 3 things. One thing we want to see, how this will help us with revenues. That's number 1 thing. Number 2 thing, we're trying to see how we can come up to true fraud, waste, and abuse. It used to be very bipartisan issue. if you want to have your money to go to fraud, waste, and abuse, you're afraid to stand up to all of the scammers that call you all the time. But I want to make sure that we can talk through stuff. And then how we can have more jobs actually, create more jobs here back home. And I have a lot of variety. My district is very diverse, right? So I have richest county, Hamilton County, and I have some of the poorest counties that hurt significantly when manufacturing left United States. So we're trying to see how we can bring more good paying jobs in manufacturing back to the United States so that the people have better living. So that is things we're going to do. So social security. So let's talk about social security. Social security, it is going to be a bipartisan discussion. This discussion is not going to happen under this president or under this Congress. Unfortunately, there is no discussion for bipartisans right now. So Social Security cannot be discussed. It has to have 60 people in the Senate to agree to that. It's going to go, and it will have to be bipartisan agreement what to do about it, because we need to make sure that we deliver to seniors their promised benefits and what we're going to do in the future. So we'll have to, if we don't do nothing, they're going to be automatic cuts across the board, and we'll try to avoid that. I 100% agree. That's why we need to make sure that people that pay these benefits are going to get them, right? But that is not going to happen this Congress, it's not going to happen this president. So this is an issue that you will have a chance, and next presidential debate, it's going to be in 4 years, decide who you like or who you don't like. Right now, as I said to you, President Trump is not tackle rights and not tackle this issue. Well, the Social Security is not a discussion, so you have nothing to worry, but I hope we can have a productive discussion in 4 years. Then let's talk about healthcare, Medicare and Medicaid. It's healthcare and how much big monopolies over billing. It was a bipartisan issue. It was interesting for me that actually Vice President Biden, I will show, actually if you look at the post, yes, and we'll do that, and we'll do them going to actually have a proposal. So what are things are happening? But what I want to explain to you, a lot of this issue used to be not partisan. Actually, Vice President Biden was calling some of these Ponzi schemes. We actually saw that recent Indianapolis, the article was talking about misappropriations of billions of dollars from nursing homes. Do you think it's right? Do you think Indianapolis Times conservative newspaper to write it? I don't know. I don't think they have a right to appropriate it, but like hospitals. So do you think it's the right thing to do? Well, so I'm just, if you want to listen to me, we'll listen. But if you just really here with already predetermined idea, I'm good at facts. Well, I'm listening to you and answer the question. I agree with you. So we can talk about what DOGE is doing or doing, but let me tell you what DOGE did. Do you think it's a bad thing or not? So if you hear, well, good. I obviously can tell that you don't like DOGE here, but I'll tell you what they did. So they came and we were able to have a conversation, right? I want you to hear. You might not like what I have to say, but I thought you would like it. I thought you would like it. So I am going to have, let me see that. Listen, you need to hear what they really do, and if you want to hear that. So they came to the Department of Treasury, and they said, we want to make sure that there is a proper authorization of any funds that disperse. This is your money. You think we should be spending your money without authorization? No, truly. Do you believe you want your banking account money from your personal bank account sent without authorization by someone you don't know what for? Who many people want to do that? Raise your hand, please. How many of you want your personal bank account, somebody just disbursed money with no authorization? How many of you? No. So when Treasury disburses your
get to, and we have several. We need to allow her to address us first before we can ask them.
Just 1 second, guys. I'm going to go over the rules.
No, it's okay. Listen, I'll just tell you, if we're going to screen the whole town hall, it's a waste of time. We don't have to do it, and I will not do it again because it's a waste of time for people who came to hear that. Because some people actually came here to hear us. And we'll get a chance to speak. You know, so I'm listening, but not screaming. Because, listen, I'll be honest with you, I wanted to have a conversation, but if we're going to scream and match, we don't have to do town halls. You know, because next time, you know, we're going to have, I'll update you on some issues. So anyway, so that's what DOGE is doing. DOGE is actually trying to figure out how the money dispersed to white collar. Okay. Scream at me more than anyone else, okay? You know, so I'm good. I'm glad that we have people that really, you know, came here. And I will understand there is frustration, but I'll just be honest with you. If we, you know, I understand my role very well. That's why I have these town halls, because we want to have a conversation. But if people just come here because they want to scream, it's not productive for the people who want to do that, you know. So we'll have conversation, we'll try to answer questions. So, but that is what the most questions that are very heated right now. And this is the questions, you know, that I'm sure you have about this. So I want to make sure that you understand, and I'll get Laura handle the rest. I do not need to give her a little time to look through all of your questions, you know, but I just want you to understand that we are going to Medicare for senior, and Medicaid is working for the most vulnerable, not go to large special interest groups in DC. And unfortunately, this issue was so bipartisan before, and President Obama tried to tackle, President Biden tried to tackle, and they didn't. But unfortunately, this is President Trump is tackling fraud and abuse. Now, what we're going to do, and listen, I thought we have a public, you know, the conversation, and we have a respectful conversation, so we cannot do that, you know, if we guys screaming. But, you know, but I think, guys, we're going to, right now, go to your questions. I'll have Laura go to that, okay?
That we're hoping to go through as many as we can. We've been organizing them based on topics. And I do want to start with the question that was posed to us by Karen and Fishers. You're number 155, and it's a question regarding benefits upon retirement. The way we'll do this is I will offer up, if you want to ask your question to Congresswoman Spartz directly, you're able to. If you would prefer that I do that, I'm happy to do that on your behalf. But could I see Karen from Fishers, number 155?
Can you get the microphone to Karen, or do you want us to ask the question? So you want, who has a microphone? Do you have who has a mic? Do you know who has a mic? Okay. Can we make sure, Jessica, can you get the mic to Karen, please? All right. Yeah, make sure that we have a person on this on the other side. Right there. Karen is right there. Jessica, right there. Can you please make sure you do that? Thank you.
Hi, thank you for coming here. I actually have a letter from 1984 when I was in high school. I had to write a letter to the president who was when I was retiring. He had one of his staff members send me something back, and I would just like to read to you what he said at that time, a Republican. He said, when signed into the Social Security Amendment in 1983, President Reagan noted that the new law demonstrates for all time our nation's ironclad commitment to Social Security. It assures the elderly that America will always keep the promises made in troubled times a half-century ago. It assures those still working that they too have a pact with the future. From this day forward, they have our pledge that they will get their fair share of benefits when they retire. I would like to know how you will ensure that all Americans now and in the future will receive their benefits when they retire, and also respectfully ask that you stop the limits of Social Security. For example, Elon Musk, a couple minutes past midnight on January 1st, he's done paying for the entire year. Ridiculous.
Sir, please, you don't need to scream at me, okay? Let me answer the question. So, the numbers, as you know, are working. We have a lot of people, baby boomers are retiring, right? Less than people in workforce. So the numbers that working very negatively for us. So it will have to be a discussion. Everything should be on the table. We'll have to figure out how we make sure that people get their benefits. But as I said before, there is no desire for bipartisanship. We tried to do bipartisan commissions. Last Congress, in bicameral bipartisan, in the Senate and the House. We actually had to introduce bills. I co-led it. I have several senators, Democrats and Republicans, co-led in the Senate. No, during presidential election, that discussion will happen. What do we need to do? But I can tell you, everything will be on the table because we have to resolve the situation and make sure we keep promises to the people. But there is no bipartisanship on this issue. We cannot even put fiscal commission anymore on even people agreeing to do it because everything's became so partisan this Congress and no one wants to work with President Trump on the other side. So that's why it's going to be a problem. So I'm just telling you, this issue will come in the next election. It's going to be a big issue. But this issue is not going to be resolved now. But as a matter of fact, I can save this progress. That's all he's trying to do. So hopefully I answered your question. And I'd be happy to go more in details on numbers, but I completely agree. President Reagan said it right. We have to keep promises. We cannot put rug under people's feet. We must keep the promises to what may be a discussion that must happen and hasn't happened. President Reagan said, well, Congress 30 years to deal with that. Well, guess what? Congress 30 years past, Congress hasn't dealt with it. But Congress will have to wake up. I am. And listen, and I fought so much with my own party last year to put that commission on the floor that you don't even know how much. But unfortunately, Chuck Schumer and Biden didn't want to do it and killed it. That's reality. That's reality.
Among the topics we received several questions on included the recent signal, and we received a lot of great questions on this, but I'm going to ask Stephanie from Carmel, number 120. She asked a great question on signal. Would you like to ask it of the Congresswoman, or would you like me to ask it? We'll get a microphone to her.
I just wanted to see what your plan is to address the issue with the administration talking about classified military operations on signal. And will you demand the immediate resignation of Pete Hegseth? Would demand the immediate resignation of Pete Hegseth, Michael Waltz, and the rest of the group chat.
So let me just address, no, I will not demand their resignation. That's not a good question. But I'll explain you something. And actually you should pose all of the resignation stuff goes to the Senate anyway, so you should talk to your senators. Hopefully they'll have town halls. You're both senators that you have. So you can attend them and talk to them them a little bit more. But talking about that issue, one thing that I want to share with you, I think it is actually very bad, and there is some classified, and usually classified information. We have a mechanism to share that and deal with that. But there is sensitive information that might be not classified. And one thing I have to tell you, the government needs to do a better job that we have tools for sensitive information where we can communicate with each other. So we don't have innocent mistake or just something happened by mistake. Because definitely it's not a good situation. So hopefully we'll take some, look at that and actually do it. Because we don't even have, as a members of Congress, a lot of Democrats, Republicans using signal because we don't have any other tools. And I was very surprised when I became member of Congress that we don't. So we have tools when we go like a very deeply classified, but you don't always have to go in a skiff and be able to have this conversation. You don't even cannot do that. So I think with all of the technologies that happen in the real world, it's sad that government is so behind on every single technology. And actually that's what Elon is trying to do. He's trying to bring technology into the government.
Matt and Carmel, if you would like to ask your question, 438, we can get a microphone to you. Over here.
Do we have Matt? Do we have Matt?
They're allowed to ask the question, though. We do want to give people the ability to do that.
We have Matt?
All right, thank you. As a Ukrainian, or at least someone who was born and raised in Ukraine, would you actually support a NATO or international peacekeeping force as part of a peace agreement to end the war and also hopefully deter Russian aggression? I mean, for the foreseeable future, or at the very least, just offer Article 5 protection, like the Italian Prime Minister suggested, I want to say like a few weeks ago, or maybe it was a few weeks ago, I believe. I mean, that's my question.
Thank you.
I think, Russia has been allowed to get away with too much, and we have to deal with it. No doubt. Russia has been destabilizing a lot, and something happened, and this discussion's on the table. President Trump put everything on the table, and actually we need to make sure that how we can deter further. But as you know, Soviet Union wasn't taken down by weapons. Soviet Union, which is Russia, a big part of it, was taken down by energy policies and financial policies. So Russia should have consequences on that, but if we don't have good energy policies and destroying our domestic energy, we're funding Russian wars. That's the reality of that situation. So we need to be smarter. Europeans need to be smarter to deal with Russia, because Putin will go as far as he'll be allowed to go. And I think, thanks to a lot of things that happened, bravery of Ukrainian military, that what's happened with volunteers. I put a lot of volunteers from America and around the world help with that war. Also the money and weapons that we send European, but unfortunately it was not done with a strategy to deter him further. So I think it's everything on the table, and Europeans are looking maybe to have some coalition on villains, to send some peacekeeping forces there too, because we have to deal with Russia, how not to let them get away and go further, and they've been going through 14 or 2008 with Georgia. And they cause us problems not just there, they cause us problems in Africa, they team up with China, they destabilize the Middle East and do it all over the world. We understand, that it is actually, the big problem, but we need to be smart, and we deal with countries which have, governments that are quite corrupt. We have to make sure that we have oversight. That's the reality. That is the reality. We need to make sure, because I demanded to have point-to-point logistics, strategy, and oversight of money. Because we cannot be sending $1 billion of cash when our country is going bankrupt. We have to be smarter. We don't have never ending money. We never have that. But we have to deal with Russia properly, and it will take strategy. But right now, we at least need to force them to the table, because the war is moving in the wrong direction. And we cannot further let it escalate. The situation in there is pretty tough. And I've been in the trenches and I've seen what's happening. So I'm not just talking from just, TV. I understand what's happening. it's a very difficult situation. We have to deal with Russia, and it's going to be very tough negotiation, and a lot of things will be on the table, but we'll have to figure out what to do with Russia in the longer run. And also on top of it, how we reform some of these agencies, that we don't have all or nothing approach. If you're a member of NATO, you have full protection. If you're not, anyone can take over, millions of people can die. All these institutions that were created after World War II are not working. UN is corrupt, and this is the reality, and we need to be smart in it. So that is something we have to do, but hopefully I answer your question.
Our next question is from Joanne from Westfield, 335, involving tariffs. For Joanne from Westfield, number 335.
Thank you for coming, Congresswoman. We appreciate it. And I hope that we can be somewhat more calm and collected and have a nice conversation, because that's the only way, that's the democratic way of working out problems. My question is, are tariffs an indirect tax on Americans who purchase goods in this country? And I'm sure as a CPA, you will steer us in the right direction.
So I'll tell you, there is a short-term use of tariffs and long-term use of tariffs. And what President Trump has the tools, what he's trying to do, and we agree, maybe disagree, and some of the things I might disagree in some ways, some I agree, but what is he trying to do, which some of the things I think it's a valid reason to say, if somebody's going to tariff us, and we should in return tariff them to make sure that this country stabilizes. He wants to make sure that we bring American job back to us, to make we lost manufacturing, and a lot of these jobs, loss of jobs is significant burdens became for us because a lot of people don't have these opportunities. So I think we need to make sure that we realign them. So President Trump is using tariffs right now, to try to be able to stabilize the situation. But I think,
I don't have a mic, so fair, but you do agree then that tariffs are in effect an indirect tax on Americans who are buying goods and services.
it depends. And I'll tell you why. It depends. If you have alternatives or not on domestic productions, if you do help your industry or not, it depends if you try to realign with that. Actually, President Biden kept a lot of President Trump's tariffs because it helped to realign us to have domestic production of this job. So if you use it smartly and for the purpose of and results, it actually brings growth to the economy and internal domestic economy. So it depends where they apply, how it apply, and for what reason. If you don't have some product in your country, never will have, and you're just going to be taxed for no reason, then it could be actually additional. But I think we should try to use it in a smart way and try to apply for industries and products where we can increase domestic production, where we can work with the other companies, not tariff our goods, because we don't allow our export for our farmers. A lot of these countries are blocking out. So in a lot of ways, and plus make sure that our allies also not really have distortion in the economy. So it depends on this, but they try to use it for right now for a reason to do realignment to the economy and not for a reason to actually to add cost, because they want to reduce cost. And we have a lot of foreign countries that control supply chain, and during COVID they increased significantly prices with no reason because they control 80 to 90% of supply chain, like China. And when they do that, they can send a fleet. So then they do that, they add so much to the cost. People don't realize that a lot of them never put the prices down. So actually that is the larger tax, is the supply chain. This is a true tax when they're able to jack up the prices with no justification and control the markets, because we don't have diversification, so we need to diversify this dependency. If As a CPA and an economist, I have several degrees in economy, I'll tell you. As a CPA and economist, it depends what it applied and for which reason. And what is the end result you're trying to achieve? Every policy, it depends what the end result you're trying to achieve. And I think as the long term across the board, it brings negative effects. But in the short-term solution to realign the economy, it can actually bring very positive effects and also help with the price. Well, I answer your questions how it is, but I can't, we need to move another. I reform it again. The ad as a CPA and economist with an MBA and MPA and bachelor's in international economics, I say it depends. It depends. Listen, I understand. As a long-term solution, it is not a sustainable solution, and no one is planning to do it. It is not going to be happening, but as a short-term mechanism to realign, it could be done.
Our next question's from Ann.
We've all just come through a very difficult pandemic that my colleagues and I have supported our community through. And I'm seeing cuts in vaccine programs that really frighten me because we are continually seeing viruses mutate, and we need to be prepared. So I feel that this is very short-sighted, especially given the recent experience that we've all just had.
Well, I think there are a few things. Things that we need, and I appreciate it's actually a very important job, and we need to make sure that we have more independent family physicians that are being acquired by hospitals that get highly subsidized more and more. But talking about the cuts in the government employment, we have over 3 million employees, in the federal government. Actually, under President Clinton, I think he got almost 400,000 employees, and no one was screaming about that. But what we need, so we still will have at least more than 3 million left. What they're trying to see how we make sure that we provide the services in a more effective way, and we make sure that people that work in these agencies actually do the work for the people. Because with bureaucracy, where we try to do everything at the federal level, and we're good at nothing. And you saw what's happened in the last pandemic. No one was ready to that pandemic. No one was ready. And the agencies, we had oversight hearings. Pandemic happened 4 years ago. They didn't change a bit. So something has to happen because things can happen and we need to be ready for next pandemic. But agencies has to become more accountable to the people. We need to do a better job with oversight of our budget, which is congressional fault. 85% of our money we never looked at. Congress haven't looked for decades. 85%. 85% of the money. Congress never looked. So we got authorized to spend and we haven't been looking. I have actually put a working group together and put in pressure on my own party, try to do some reforms that we start doing a better job to see which programs are good, fund them better, which programs are bad. That's what we need to do. I need to make sure that looking at them and make sure that our branches are held accountable and we have best and brightest that want to come to work to federal government. And it is unfortunately not the case anymore. So I think if you're ever interested, you work in healthcare, I have advisory group I always meet. I would appreciate your input because I'm personally involved in fixing a lot of distortion and problems in healthcare. And I hope we can have a bipartisan conversation on that. And if you leave your information, interested to participate, I think if we have a smaller group, we can have more productive conversations on this issue. I'd be happy to hear you. And then please leave your information on that.
Our next question's from Keith from Westfield, number 142.
Thank you. My question is actually related to all of the immigrants that are being rounded up and deported. process, or is the expectation that we're just supposed to take the word of the administration that these people need to be shipped out of the country without any opportunity to defend themselves?
Let me answer your question. So, listen, we're a country of immigrants. So I came here as an immigrant. We still have my Yankee accent. But we need to make sure that we have legal processes and law and order. We cannot open the borders. We cannot create a system where coming here legally takes decades. That is impossible. But coming illegally, you can come here and get a lot of welfare benefits. So we have to make sure that we get that border under control. I've been at that border many times. It's insanity. So if you come here, so a lot of these people, what President Trump did it last time when he tried, if you seek asylum, wait in the other country, not getting here in the country. So there is no due process if you come here illegally because you violated the law. Period. You violated the law. You are not entitled to due process. Legal-abiding citizens are. And these people violated laws. It is violated laws, and that's why we need to make sure we take this under control. The border has to be secure because it is life of your children. It is life of you if you can't control the border. These police officers and our border patrol brave people risk their lives because we allow criminals to cross the border. That is wrong. That is wrong. So, for the people that entitled to due process will have, but for the criminals that come here breaking the law, we have to put stop to that. And we need to deter. We need to deter. We need to deter illegal activities because we have to obey the law. I don't think I made it my opinion. We might disagree with it, but we'll go to the next question.
Questions from Pam? Our next question's from Pam from Fishers, number 106. That's Pam from Fishers, number 106. Pam from... I'm sorry. He didn't like it when I gave my mic away last time. Sorry.
Okay, so my question is about the VA. My best friend, he served as a combat Marine over in Iraq, and he was there when they had the open burn pits, and he was supposed to have surgery on his sinuses, but that was canceled. He has PTSD. Those appointments were canceled. He's supposed to have appointments for his knee and backs. Those appointments were canceled. When is he supposed to get the health care that he deserves for serving his country?
I completely agree with you. Everyone here who served the country risked their life should get the best care when they're back home. So if you have a specific issues, I first address your issues and I say a little bit in general about VA. So if you have a specific issue, and we get involved a lot. I have a good team, If you have a specific issue, please reach out to my office. We'll have David here. We'll follow up his VA. I do not know circumstances what happened to your friend, but this is an issue we help. I personally get involved with something wrong. I meet with leadership. I go talk to them, and I truly believe if they don't treat veterans well, I get on them. I want to make sure it's happen. As related to healthcare services, we actually need to probably offer more opportunities for veterans to get the best healthcare, not just only in VA. And that is a discussion we should have because not everyone can the best services at the VA level, and we should have more flexibility if VA cannot deliver some of the services because some VAs are great, some are not the best. They have in some areas, they don't have proper staff to provide quality care. But in that specific situation, I want to to make sure that I think you get card from David, or you give us information, and we'll make sure that we'll reach out. Thank you.
From Tipton, 332.
Sponsor a bill on that issue. I actually can sponsor a bill on the issue. I think
We'll
we
get a
can
microphone to you.
few issues. Not on my newsletter, the way you can keep in touch what I'm doing. Who we have next?
First, I would like to thank everybody who asked the questions before. Those were some really common sense questions, so thank you, everybody. And then, and thank you for coming, Representative Spartz.
Try to see where you are.
I'm right here. I'm short.
Okay, Doug.
So, given current events, what are you doing to rein in the executive branch and support the judges and the judicial branch?
You might know me well, might know it from even my state senate time, that I actually willing to challenge even my own party when I on a lot of issues, and I work very extremely hard to make sure that our branch is doing its job, because the only way, and listen, I like what this president is doing, but I might not like what next president is doing. But the only way for the Congress to rein in an executive branch, start overseeing the spending and passing laws. We pass no laws. Supreme Court told us we pass no laws. 85% will never look at that. So I am trying to work. I forced my party to put a working group to reform our budget act from 70s. That is not working. We're not doing that. We have no people that can put spreadsheet together. That is the tough reality in Congress. So you want to make sure that your money is spent. So the only way to have oversight, regardless who's in charge. I didn't like maybe what the previous president, I like this one, but I look at further. How can we make sure that Congress does its job? We the people who look at this, when we don't have voice and pass the laws, when we do not look at where money going, that you are not represented. And it has been for decades. For quarter of a century, Congress doesn't look where the money are going. Quarter of a century. It wasn't created by these programs or previous. So I'm trying to change it. I got into a big fight with my speaker. That's not easy to go challenge your own speaker. But I tried to force working group, and I'm asking some Democrats for a change, maybe work with us. Behind their back, some of them do. I'll be honest with you, behind their back, we had some bipartisan issues on fiscal commission. I do not know. And that this kind of, like even today, that we can even help bipartisan. Unfortunately, either it's stress, either you guys listen to a lot of, from other side, I don't know, but people don't work toward to get together. It's very difficult right now to find any bipartisan in Congress. So this is the reality what's happened. And without bipartisan agreement, it cannot be reformed. So I'll do my best, what I can. But this is the reality that has to be addressed. And sometimes we have to find common ground that we should not, regardless of what you feel, we should not be spending your money without proper oversight of Congress. We should not let these agencies worldwide and send check whoever they want for whatever causes. This shouldn't be happening. It's never been a partisan issue before. Unfortunately, it became. So I'll do my part, and I'll try to make sure that my party at least will have a proposal how we're going to be reforming Congress, and maybe we'll get some Democrats. I'll try my best.
Arnett, do you have to offer to the leftist and progressive Democrats? I want to feel represented by candidates, politicians on all sides of the political aisle. How are you looking out for those you vehemently disagree with?
It's actually, I'll tell you something interesting, that when I served in the judiciary, I had passed and actually worked on more bipartisan issue, and that is the most heated committee in the whole United States Congress. I actually had a bill with Representative Jayapal dealing with hospital monopolies and antitrust. I actually passed a bill with Representative Raskin commemorating Thomas Paine and Thomas Paine Society. I with me. So I try to find in a narrow basis common ground when I can. Unfortunately, we became very far apart in a lot of issues, and no one wants to have a conversation. Everyone will scream and shout on the floor, give presentation, not to really find a resolution. Some of the issues we never agree on, and this is just reality. And then in elections, you decide who represents you, and you vote for people that you agree on. But there are some issues for national security we should be able to agree on. We should be able to have a conversation. But it's unfortunate because a lot of politics right now in the way, but I still think, we're going to be able to do some things, after, maybe reconciliation. And we should try to find some, people to be able to do that, So I'm actually working with all committees right now. I have a working group to deliver on reconciliation and the laws because I'm going to reform Congress. I'm the Joint Economic Task Force. I'm running that, and I'll, that's I think you have a simple answers, okay, guys? But we're going to figure it out, some things, and we're going to work on fiscal issues. And even some of the issues we might be able to find common ground.
The next question is from Nakona Kennedy Flat, number 52, and I apologize in advance if I mispronounced your name.
Sorry, the people. I do not. Yes. Well, listen. We all be judging results. So
it's my turn. Right here. Okay. So with Trump and Elon's DOGE cuts to USAID, USDA, increased tariffs, Department of Education, what are you doing for the farmers in Indiana? Because Indiana is a farming state, and every one of those farmers lose money. And if you're not sure on that, you gave your credentials earlier, let me give mine. I grew up on a farm. I have an American FFA degree. I'm a master's level therapist as well as a PhD. So when I'm asking this question, I don't want to know for me. I don't want to know for my family. I want to know for the farms in Indiana, what are you doing to make sure that those products and those goods that they sell to other countries through USAID, through USDA, and through our Department of Education, what are we going to do? Because those are gone. They lost that revenue.
Because it's very important. I'm not just, and I'm a farmer myself. I have a farm in operation. I drive combine. I have a farm, thousands of acres that I farm. So I can tell you from first-hand knowledge, I actually write the checks for the chemicals. I actually wrote today, watch check, the price is increasing, for the grain prices, for all of the seed prices, for all of the regulation, expensive combines, and oil and gas that we have to pay. So I'm not just talking hypothetical. I'm actually in this business. My family, have been farming over thousands of acres in this area for years now, for generations. My husband grew up on a farm in Noblesville, and his family, and he's almost farming in Minnesota and Noblesville. So I'm not just talking that I do not know about the issue, but I'll tell you what to do with farming. And we're going to have a farm bill, and I want to work on this issue because smaller farmers are going to be destroyed if we do not continue dealing with input costs. If we have large oligopolies like John Deere creating rules that now we're overpaying for equipment that we cannot afford, we have to have rights to repair where farmers are not getting screwed by large companies that produce it. We need to make sure that we reduce regulation and some emissions, at least for farm equipment. We need to make sure that we have, they're not doing it because Congress doesn't want to have conversation, but we'll have a reauthorization of the farm bill. We need to make sure that some of these programs, like checkoff programs, that actually used by large meat processing monopolies to subsidize their political interests in DC, which actually when I put it on the floor, it was a bipartisan issue. AUC voted for it. But we will try to make sure, we actually didn't have any PPE loans, because I don't get one. But I'll tell you something. It's very important that we have farmers surviving and small family farms survive. And we need to start looking at input costs. The only place we can have that discussion is the Farm Bill, because it's a must-pass legislation. So I actually just saw at the White House our new Secretary of Agriculture, and I said I would like to sit down sometimes with you and have also discussion, because also Farm Bill is a health of our nation too. How we can have healthy food, so our children are healthy, we have a better choice of food, and farmers not incentivized to produce unhealthy food in mass production. How we can have more choices of food. Farm Bill is also a health bill, and we have to have competition for value and have a better, more innovative agriculture. And it's not happening. So I hope we can have this conversation. You know, we have new HHA secretary. You might not like him, but you know, but RFK wants to have this conversation. In the farm bill. So we might get you my farm committee for me, so maybe you know we find common ground. This one issue we can agree on. But we need to have this discussion because it's extremely important how we can do that. And so I actually do have, if any of you are interested in farming, including you, I have agricultural groups because I have a lot of advisory groups in different counties, and we meet periodically. It's important for me to hear all inputs. You know, I mean it. I actually get a lot of good ideas from people on the ground for a variety of things. I usually just meet with farmers, but interesting to look at people who may be not involved in farm, but familiar with farm, and have another perspective on how the farm business is, not just farmers, because we look maybe a few things, you might have a broader perspective. I think we need to look at that, and Farm Bill is going to be an opportunity. After we're done with a few other things, later in the summer, in August, we have a recess. We'll have a lot of town halls, and I usually do a lot of things on farming because Farm Bill will have to be reauthorized in September, October. And that's where the policy can happen. I'd be happy here for input. I would like to have you that. So we must not liking each other to get to know me, but thank you. Thank you for the question.
Number 329. And I apologize again if I mispronounce your name. Okay, we'll get a microphone right to you. Thank you.
Your voice, I'm gonna get some coffee.
Okay, I have friends and neighbors on disability. What is the plan to protect the disabled? They're taking away a lot of money.
This is one of the things, and I really, that should be a bipartisan issue. I'm involved with a lot of people in the disability community, one of my friends, but one thing that we need to make sure, we ensure that Medicaid, that provide a lot of services for people with disability, provide better services. That's what Medicaid was intended for, to help people with disability. A lot of services were cut, and a lot of money in Medicaid go to subsidize large oligopolies that don't provide services. So we need to have this discussion because we need to make sure that we have, and plus provide more choice for parents and for people with disability, including for seniors too, the more nursing home, what kind of care the people need. That has to be reformed. States have almost full control of Medicaid, and they haven't been using it very good job with that. I think this session, they're trying to do it. When I was state senator, I tried to push this issue. They were not very good. So we've tried to look at the federal level how we can incentivize or punish state for bad behaviors. And that is the discussion is going to be. We have to look, because federal government is funding these programs, but state has almost full discretion on Medicaid that provide a lot of service for people with disability. We need to make sure that we do better, and that's something, every time, we talk about how much money we spend. This is an enormous amount of federal money I spend, but I think you need to also utilize more your voice at the State House. It's much easier for you to show up. They're in the budget session, and I think some of these issues, we have to figure it out, so, and if you ever need to be helpful, happy to do it. Actually, we have Cecilia Copeland-Fishers, I don't know which city you're from. She's running, the rest of the other one. They have a task forces, the city work on disability initiatives with local government, and I try to collaborate with them as much as I can, because we need to make sure that we help the most vulnerable with the benefits we promise, but don't waste money on people that are abusing the system, because then we'll run out of money not to help the people that we need to help.
Our next question is from Bob from Fisher.
My question is simple. Are you going to vote to increase the budget deficit?
working very hard to make sure that we come after bad stuff in the budget, to make sure that we come after all of the fraud in the system, and able to pass taxes that will grow the economy. So this is something that is going to happen. This is going to happen in May. I personally put a working group together with all a variety of committees, and I'm working legislation. You don't understand how rare it is to work on working legislation. And what I would like to do, before we introduce this legislation, I'll make sure you're going to see what is in these bills and understand what we're doing, because a lot of times we write very complex stuff, you have no idea what it is. So if you sign up, that's how the Congress does. That's a rule. We put omnibuses to make sure. I don't know what is in this bill. Not just you, Nancy Pelosi says, let's pass it, and we're going to know later what is in it. So it's not just you. I do not know. So I do not want us to govern that people don't know what we're doing, or we don't even know what we're doing. They put it last second on the floor and say, here's omnibus, vote for it, or we'll come in primary, you or this. So what I'm going to do, I want to make sure if you sign up to my newsletters, and if I don't lose my voice completely, I might do more town halls, but if we can have them conversations, I want to talk about these bills, because I do not want, we have a significant fiscal crisis, and I want to make sure that we're not going to be raising deficit. Yes? So he says the Republican Party is going to put a bill. I don't know what the mic. Yes. No, I said I will, and I did it. But that's why I want to make sure. No, we did not. No, we have a budget. No, we didn't. We don't even understand what the discussion. This is what we're doing right now. It's instructions that is going to have a resolution. And I'll be honest with you, the biggest problem is not the House, it's the Senate. The Senate doesn't want to do any offsets to anything because they're making lots of money. Big oligopolies campaigning very hard. And that is a challenge. So I am not, and that's why I am voting. I'm working right now to make sure that we can at least balance this reconciliation. So that is what I'm doing. So I can reassure you that I understand finances, I understand the significance of our fiscal situation, and I wish we could actually reduce our deficits, reduce deficits and debt, but at least we cannot add more to it. I understand because it will cause inflation, and it will cause more problems if we do that. So that is my answer. I am not going to let it continue increases to our deficits. It's a national security issue. But I'm trying to find solutions to this issue, and hopefully you'll be open-minded.
Our next question is from Deanna from Carmel, number 234.
Yes, but some of these tax cuts do bring growth, some of them don't, but President Trump wants to help people with lower income. So we need to figure out how that looks like spend. So that is what we need to do. So, but some of these tax cuts bring growth. There is a variety of tax cuts, and none of them, not all of them, grow the economy. But he wants to make sure just smaller businesses have an opportunity for growth. So they're looking at the code. They're looking, Ways and Means Committee looking on the tax cuts. I'm trying to figure out what to do with the spending so they come off the fraud and offset some of this stuff.
Okay, now we're going to go to Deanna, who's been waiting. Deanna.
Thank you for being here today. Before I begin, I, like a lot of you here, clearly disagree with some of the things she's saying. But I want to say that we are not going to be able to hear what she has to say if we continue to behave in this manner. This is ridiculous. You know what? We need to be civil, and we need to listen and hear both sides. I need to make that clear. I applaud her for the way she's handling this behavior. Okay, my question.
Quiet.
Okay,
Question. This week, President Trump expressed his desire to end federal funding for NPR and PBS, which polling shows is opposed by a majority of Americans. Would you support or oppose this action?
I'll tell you something. I'll tell you that I will, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because unfortunately, first of all, no, I answered the questions, but I'll tell you why. I said yes, but I want to give you an explanation. I'll give you an explanation. I think we live now in the world where really, unfortunately, we don't have transparency in the media. We live in the world that media is very cheap, but the government shouldn't be subsidizing media. If you like NPR, you can be listening to NPR, sell advertising on NPR, and then be very well funded. If somebody likes Fox, they can do the same for Fox. So you have a choices. Government shouldn't be paid and subsidizing media in period. They do hearings right now, and we've noticed that, almost everyone there on NPR, and I actually went on NPR a few times, and I'll be honest with you, they try to be fair with me in some ways, and we talk about economic issues, and I appreciate some issues that they're willing to talk with the Republicans. A lot of times they generally just attack. So I had a good conversations with NPR, but I think we need to decide, and if we see that the media is very tilted, why the government should be spending, because ultimately country is, divided in some way. Why we spending money on providing to one side but not the other side? And what should we start funding some conservative media too? Because unfortunately public media is not doing, news that are not tilted, and unfortunately they become very polarized. So we have hearings on this issue. I do not know if this issue will come in front of us, but if it does in front of us, I just see so much. I've been dealing with media, a variety of media, and I even go on very hostile media just to be able to have conversations. I go to MSNBC, I go on CNN and NPR, and it's not easy. Usually my colleagues don't even go, but I'm willing to go just so we have a different views and conversation. And usually it's tough. For a politician, it's real tough. But I don't think government should be really paying money and spending money subsidizing any media. There is plenty of way to fund media now, and it's actually quite well funded anymore.
Our next question from Westfield, he said, I've been a registered Republican since 1976 in Hamilton County. Always voted for Dick Lugar. Why have Republican Congress members not rein in President's illegal, unconstitutional orders?
Executive orders.
Quiet, please. Quiet, please.
You want me to answer a question? I'll answer a question. Executive orders, it's not a way to govern. But until Congress can pass a law, the executive orders have been governing our country for a very long time. And unfortunately, to pass any law right now, it would take 60 votes. So, in the Senate, we cannot pass anything. I'll just tell you reality. It is reality. And unfortunately, right now, I agree. And unfortunately, right now, there is no taste to do anything bipartisan. So everyone voted a partisan vote. So that is the reality what's happening right now. Congress is not going to, until Congress decide that Congress is going to do a job, so it's not going to happen. And right now, I agree with you. Congress has to pass laws, has to work on issues. But Congress cannot come to an agreement. And until the party agrees to deal with this issue we agree on, nothing is going to happen. And the same situation was happening under Democrat president. So right now we have President Biden who running wild. Now presidents do. And I do not like this because I might like executive orders today. Honestly, I don't know what's going to happen in 4 years. So I'm willing to try to reform our institutions that we start doing its job, and I do as much as I can in a short majority. Unfortunately, it will take more than me, and I hope we can talk to your senators too, because if Congress does not continue doing its job, we're going to be run country by executive orders, which is not a good thing for stability of the country. That's been happening now for decades. It didn't happen under this Congress or not under Congress. So that is the reality what's happening. You know, the only way we can do it if party decide that they want to work together. You know, and I'm working extremely hard to find common ground. Actually, as a matter of fact, I passed 12 bills on the Democrats. You know, that is not that easy. But it is very, very narrow basis. Actually, on the Democrat president, and some of them were tough legislation. But I think that is important for us to do that. It's important to find common ground, but I don't think in this environment it's happening right now because people may be upset. Maybe people have a reason to do that. Maybe people just do it for the protesting. But unfortunately, no one wants to do anything right now, and that is a tough reality. So it's until Congress is going to wake up, nothing is going to happen.
Okay, thank you. We have another question. This one's from Amy in Carmel, number 121.
I'm Amy from Carmel, and I work in the affordable housing field. Thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate it. What will you do to ensure that those who are most vulnerable will have access to decent and affordable housing, especially those who are elderly and or have disabilities?
There are few aspects to affordable housing. One became the price of housing, become not just unaffordable, it's becoming unachievable, not just for people, you know, on the lower income, but even the people in the middle income people. And I think you've seen the prices, and it's a combinations of things, so we have to deal with the pricing. If we don't deal with inflation, mortgage prices are going to go up, so we have to deal with spending and inflation because it's become more and more unaffordable and achievable. But we also need to make sure that how we can stop this inflation and have a better economy for people with disabilities, for people, including seniors. You know, we right now spend, when I was a senator, I did a calculation. We on Medicaid, we're providing seniors, you know, nursing homes, we spend enormous amount of money. Seniors don't get the services, and you saw that a lot of them don't even go to seniors. How some of these programs for the most vulnerable actually go directly to help most vulnerable and have them make a choice. You know, what is the best care? Our Department of Child Services spend $50,000 per child per year. 5 to 10 goes to foster family. I was asking, where is the rest of the go? We can send the people to Harvard Business School for $50,000 a year. Where the money going? It's some kind of services. And no one could give an answer. These programs are getting very, very expensive. So I said, let's just, you know, it's give in cash. It's cheaper than we're going to save money. So we have to start reforming some of these programs to allow people to actually need this help, to make sure they get it, but not all of this groups of intermediaries and everyone, whether it's health care or the PBMs, you can even see how much money made in pharmaceutical, and people cannot get affordable pharmaceutical. It's every area. Where is the same the services, whether it's nursing home, whether it's foster care. We have all of these intermediaries agencies spend enormous amount of money, give to a variety of organizations, and I go on the ground, and I have some very poor communities in my district. And the money not there. I actually had a bipartisan bill that I passed with the chair of education committee at that time, Democrat, on juvenile justice prevention for at-risk youth. Because I've seen what's happening if we don't deal with kids early. You know, the kids get into criminal justice system and then we try to get them through jails. We passed legislation. We are sending money to the state. It doesn't go to the ground. So we need to start looking how the money go, where they go, why we keep spending money, and nothing happening. So I think that's what we're trying to do, make sure we reform these programs, that we make sure the benefits for the most vulnerable, for people with disabilities, seniors are protected and improved. We need to do better benefits. I see how people struggling, but we spend more money, benefits don't get better. We have to have better outcomes, we have to have better health care, and look at how we can reform. And that's what we're going to do, because we always have limited amount of money. We don't want to be doubling taxes on all Americans. We want to make sure that we keep taxes low. And by make sure this money we have, we do a better job. And that's what we're going to start looking at some of these programs, including for the most vulnerable.
Our next question is from Richard from Zionsville, number 273. Richard from Zionsville, number 273. Not seeing you, I'm going to go ahead and ask Richard's question. And he had a very specific question I thought was great. We got lots on Social Security. Are any of our Indiana offices being closed? Richard from Zionsville wants to know.
Indiana offices?
That's what he asked.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're aware of anything, I don't. We try to keep all our offices closed too. You know, and if you're not mean to my staff, I'll keep my office open too. If they feel very, you know, they feel very worried about that, we'll have to make appointments because my job is also make sure that we keep people safe. But I think, you know, we're going to look, you know, I know there is a lot of drama with a variety of agencies and everything else, but honestly, we're trying to make sure that we automate, bring technology, and make some of these agencies work better for you. And that is really seems like a common sense. We should all agree on that, but maybe it's very hard for us to agree. So I understand, but hopefully we'll find common ground at least on some of the issues.
We have another question from Tanya and Fishers, number 257.
Oh, okay, good.
Tanya and Fishers, number 257. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and ask Tanya's question for her.
So I want to make sure that, well, if you want to answer the question, maybe we're getting too tired, but I think I'll at least go to 7:30 and then we'll have a personal questions, whatever you want to do. Okay, I'll just stay around here for another half an hour and do that, but let me just finish at least. Let's just finish a little bit, you know. Thank you, appreciate it, sir. Let me finish a little bit, a question about DOGE, you know. So I came from the auditing world. I came from the auditing profession. And in a lot of things, when people come, this is a lot of business people from IT world. And what they're trying to do, they try to automate some transaction and do like some simple accounting things, you know. And the government really is so behind all of that that you will be very surprised how bad it is. You know, the simple transaction disbursed with no authorization, you know, with no approval and justification. I don't think you would be running your own business like that. None of you would just have your working account ran like that. So this is the people from a business world, so I have a good understanding of what they're doing, and I'm trying to work with them, and I work with them quite closely. I'll be honest with you. But I want to make sure that things that are bad actually go eliminated through Congress. And not because that is the job of a Congress to make sure that the bad stuff and fraud goes through Congress. So my job is working with them to make sure that we can pass proper legislation, that we don't have to be continued dealing with fraud and abuse, and keep the promised benefit to the people, and have a better system to monitor how your money are spent. That's what I'm trying to do, but I work very, very closely with them personally. And unfortunately, there's so loud that probably you don't want to listen to me in all of the details, but if you're very interested, I will be providing more information, and I send my newsletters and always give details on different things. But hopefully you can agree through things with me in the long run.
We have a question from William from West Station.
Walk out!
We have
solidarity. Walk out! Walk out! Let's go! Walk! Get out!
Okay, we have a question. We have a question from William from Westfield.
Walk out! Let's go!
Okay.
People with visas are being deported!
Not working. But this is graph from the Congressional Budget Office. Actually, a lot of Democrats now like, and Republicans don't. So if you don't like, and actually, listen, CBO is not perfect, but if we wouldn't have CBO, the country would completely run wild, and we would completely bankrupt the country. So actually, the Congressional Budget Office right now, that's what the graphs are. They're not done from me. I don't create them. They do this graph, so this is the reality. My party is now questioning a lot of this, what CBO is counting, because they don't like some things. And I said, well, you cannot just change accounting when you don't like the result. So I pushed back on my own party, and I said, We have to be accounting the same accounting. We need to make sure, and I am not allowing them to change accounting methods, and then it's got a big fight with the Senate. So we'll see what the Senate is going to come. Senate wants to change accounting. I don't think it's right. And I am not agreeing to that. And that's a resolution. We're going to see how it's going to come. I haven't seen it. Senate probably going to vote next week. And if they're going to change baseline, I am not going to be supporting that. So maybe for a different reason than a lot of, but if Senate is going to change accounting methods to show that tax cuts have no effect, I am not supporting that. We need to be honest. We need to see what is good in the economy, what is not, and where is the bad stuff. We need to start balancing the books. And CBO might be not perfect, but we need to have them. So that's what Samson is big on the table, but that's what these graphs are. They're not created by me. Be happy. You can look online and see them. This is all CBO numbers, so that's came from, they have reports, they do that, and I send them. Yeah, it's from their reports. Yeah, I'll be happy, and if you want to email, I provided. This is the handout they do. They actually issued new economic outlook yesterday. So this is probably from my August town hall I did on the fiscal issues, but yes, from yesterday might have a little bit different, but I don't think it's much changed.
We have a question from Melissa
Melissa.
Let's listen to Melissa, please.
I work at a school, and we've just learned that Trump signed an executive order to completely eliminate the Department of Education, which funds the majority of our school. I could lose my job because of this, and I want to know why this is in the interest of Hoosiers like myself.
So Department of Education is not who's teaching kids. It's people like you are people on the ground. That's who's teaching kids. Department of Education, average salary of $140,000 a year, that's not what teachers get paid. So we're not talking about moving, taking funding away. We're talking about actually giving this funding to the states more directly, so we eliminate some of the bureaucracy. And it's very interesting. Let me tell you, one issue when I was state senator, I disagreed a lot of issues with teachers union, but I work on the regulation of teacher profession, and they did not like all of the federal testing. That is one of the issues. I'm working to help them to provide more flexibility, that they're not teaching to this test, and the teachers have an ability to actually teach kids, and the teachers are rewarded properly, not regulated non-stop with more regulation than even state doing. So in the meantime, we have to think also how we make sure when we send money to the states, we also make sure that states use this money well, because no, they don't always use this money well. That's a different discussion. But we try to see how federal government can do better job of things we should do: national security, protecting the border, have strong military, have interstate commerce, and some of the issues give states ability to innovate and educate kids better, and the more teachers better, that we actually have best and brightest coming into profession, which become very hard. I taught a little bit, I taught at college a little bit, I taught at the public accounting, I didn't teach at schools, I was kind in schools, I know how tough the job is, but I can tell you, education is not acceptable, but right now, our educational outcomes is not acceptable. Our kids are spending more and more money, and our kids don't get knowledge and be able to survive. And also some of the high ed, including under President Obama, was more bipartisan issue about educational outcomes, but now it became so partisan that is definitely no one wants to deal with that, but we have to deal with education of our children, because it is national security crisis, because only 30% of our kids, for educational health reasons, are able to join the military, are eligible to join the military. So we have to think, so I want to make sure that the money we're going to fund education, and if we have to good causes, we're going to fund better and come after fraud and abuse, but not a lot of bureaucrats that don't help education in DC. So I think the department did a terrible job in DC. They're doing a terrible job, and we need to do a better job on the ground and help states to deliver better.
I'm sure you're all aware we have less than 30 minutes left, so I want to tell you, it's not your question. Let's turn to the person whose question is now. Thank you.
First of all, Congresswoman, thank you for coming. I know you've seen a lot of what's happened in America, and with town halls here recently, and you didn't have to do this, so we thank you for coming. And I'm also, you said it yourself that you're not used to town halls like this, so I'm proud of my fellow Hoosiers that we're getting involved in the process. Our question, you often talked about supporting jobs in the economy, yet you voted against protections for steel workers and automakers in this district, as well as workers' right to organize, federal workers. You also support an administration that's allowing DOGE to basically cut Social Security and Medicare by removing $880 billion from the departments that administer these services, programs that many working class Hoosiers all depend on. Can you explain how these actions align with your promises to protect American jobs and help working families?
Actually, in spite of a lot of things that people talk about, I actually work with a lot of issues with a variety of unions. And there are some issues we might agree, with some issues we disagree. Actually, in healthcare, that's one of the issues that is wage suppression as for union labor and as not for union labor. And I told them I can be very stern aligned. We had good meetings recently with them, and I said we can work together and agree on that. I've always been supportive of competition on the market, but I've never been a person who believes that union cannot exist. I think union actually can be very helpful to organize if they serve the people, and if their leadership serves the members, they could actually help in some ways, because when companies come to places like Indiana, and we try to bring manufacturing to Indiana, and we don't just compete with Illinois and Michigan and Ohio, we compete with Tennessee, Texas, Florida, Carolinas. I want to make sure that we have good energy prices, we have water resources, which is requires for a lot of type of jobs, and we have educated labor. And if union has provided this labor, that's fine. But I am not going to support to mandate it, but I'm not against to help good leadership of good unions to deal with issues. And I'm working very closely. I have a variety of them in my district north of here. And we're trying, and President Trump been very supportive, and he actually put in charge of Department of Labor my colleague, who actually lost the race at very pro-labor union, which a lot of Republicans didn't like, but he doesn't look at that union and anti-union. So I do believe the competition should happen. I believe in right to work, but I also believe we can work with unions, and if they have good leadership, they can help the member to have good jobs and have more organized labor, where we can say when the company comes to Indiana, we have trained people, we have good people, but they need to offer value. We're not going to be just do protectionists if they're not helping members, and a lot of things were happening in the early 2000s, it wasn't happening. They were not really, serving the members of leadership, always separate leadership and the members. And a lot of things happened that, in a lot of other perverse incentives that make industries move to China. We need to bring them back, but we need to be smart, and I'm very open to work with unions, and I have been working with a variety of them, so I always try to find common ground, and if there is any specific issue you are interested, I'll be open-minded regardless of politics. I just said I believe in right to work. I believe in right to work. I believe in the choices. I believe in that. But if unions want to organize, I have no problem with that. And I'd be willing to help them to organize well. But I just said to you, I think I answered your question. I think I answered your question, but hopefully they can find something.
Okay, our next question is from Gail from Cicero, number 473. Do you feel you represent all voters in your district, and do you consider carefully your decisions in light of all constituent wishes? And she added in, based on phone calls, emails, postcards, etc.
Yeah, and I do, and actually, referendum is role as is election, right? So if you believe, and you will never be able to agree on 100% of the issue. I always say I don't agree with my husband on 100% of the issue, but I try to do my best. First, when I look at my decision, see on the law and decision how constitutional it is, because my first oath is to Constitution. Then second, I look, what is the majority of people in my district think, right? And ultimately, I won Senate, and I won 2 elections in here, so ultimately people believe that I did the right thing, majority. I would like to see more common ground and more people from other side be open-minded and vote for me on some issues beyond the party, but ultimately that's a choice you do. You might like someone else, and that's a choice, as we have decided in election. But I do meet with this variety of groups on every issue. I do not take side until I listen to all of the sides. And I try to figure out what is the right call. So I meet with some of the group that disagree with me very vividly. And it's not easy. I'll be honest with you, this town hall wasn't easy because I know there are a lot of calm people with maybe different views, but I didn't want not to have it, even though, as you know, I wasn't advised by security people, everyone, to do it. But I felt like we still need to have a conversation. Regardless we agree, I need to hear you, I need to hear your voice, I need to hear your frustration. Hopefully I can address some, maybe some I cannot, but hopefully you stay in touch with me and stay in touch with the office, and we'll have more of that. And I think I appreciate you coming. Here at the on the 191st Street, the fields, football fields over there. But I was like, well, that's a little bit complicated, right, in Grand Park. So this is probably not that far and everything else. So we'll try to stay in touch, but ultimately, I hope we can have this, and I hope, we can have this conversation, and we even agree on one issue. So hopefully maybe we'll agree more. But I appreciate the questions, and I'll try to do my best to listen to all of the sides, and you can make the decision on November, and ultimately always have a choice.
We have a question from Jack and Carmel, number 150. Jack and Carmel, 150. Okay. I will ask the question. He said this is a constituent request. How have voter service requests to your office changed in 2025? And he noted especially Social Security and appointments. Which I'm not entirely sure what he means by that, but he did also add thank you.
Okay, well, I think when we actually try to streamline website, is going to launch website that is a little bit easier, but we haven't done it yet. Hopefully it's going to be soon. Our IT services are not as fast, but hopefully they get better, But you always can, if you have some requests, you can do it through website, but you can also come into office or call into office. We have actually open door policy. Our offices are open. Unless I'll be advised for security reason to have by appointment, but I think, regardless how you feel, my staff are employees of the federal government, so if you don't like something, that's not their fault. They're not there, they're there to serve you, and we don't necessarily might agree even with me on the issue, but it doesn't matter, they work there to serve you, so we try to do our best, and I think David has been, for my two predecessors, he's been for a very long time, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of people say, we don't even agree with your politics, but David is great. So for me, feedback about my people is the most important, my employees, so if we can do better, let us know, but we try to streamline some technology and make websites. So we haven't changed anything, it's still the same, but we'll try to make sure that our website is a little bit user-friendly, because this is a generic website that we had as a freshman, and now
Our middle class has been dwindling for decades, and I really appreciate what everybody's trying to do with tariffs and bringing jobs back here. But what's our middle class going to do in the meantime? They're becoming poorer and poorer. We've already addressed the problem about lack of affordable housing, lack of health care, and now who knows what education is going to look like for these folks. So how do we not only maintain the middle class, but try and grow it?
Well, I think and President Trump is only there for a few more years, so then he's, the question, this is a huge problem, and I think we need to make sure how we can help more people go in the middle class. Actually, real estate and affordability is one of the issues that a lot of Americans is the biggest asset that Americans own, and allow them to build some wealth and grow and be able to do it. No access to capital, where now small businesses struggle to get access to capital. That's a huge problem to the middle class. So we need to grow the economy. Growth of economy helps with different jobs, but then we also need to see how we're not creating now this environment where large oligopolies close to the government get all of the perks and benefits, and that's reality. That's a reality. That's a reality. They get grants, get subsidy, get credits. They lobby in Washington D.C. and they get a lot of benefits, where people in the middle class and people in the lower income not able to get all of this. So I think this is becoming a distortion, because unfortunately, if you let politicians to make decisions, not actually the markets, not you, which causes are good, but actually allow that to centralize the power, more and more money go to the wrong causes. So we have to think how the programs we have, they allow people to go from low income to go to middle class, how young people have opportunities to be able to acquire real estate and have good paying jobs. So I think growth of economy is one thing, but I think we need to look on the other side. What are we doing with financial markets? Because ultimately, no matter what it is, even small business, large business, or even family, it's access to finances, be able to build wealth, and how we can have people actually not just living in apartments, but also be able to buy some housing. So I think it's a problem discussion we have, and we have more and more disparity now with the wealthiest people and the rest. I think this disparity has to be addressed, because if we don't have more people in the middle class, the country is not going to be as strong. So we have to look at that, and we try to look. But first, we need to re-energize the growth in the economy, because it will help. If we don't have economic growth, it's very difficult, because right now we are in trouble financially, and economic growth will help us.
Thank you. We have a question from Barb in Carmel, number 39. Barb in Carmel, number from Barb in Carmel. She says, "Are you going to vote to continue to fund Ukraine and support NATO?"
This is a question. I've always been a supporter of NATO. It's an important institution for the security of Europe. We need to make sure that Europeans do better too. We need to make sure that Europeans get to their 2%, because that's in their interest. So we need to put pressure on them. We need to make sure that Europeans have smarter energy policy, because that's an economic interest, and we can help in a lot of ways for that. I'm not going to be sending blank check to anyone. I'm sorry, we have go bankrupt. No blank checks. We need to have strategy, and we need to know where the money are spent. And let's just be very honest, we're dealing with a lot of foreign governments that leaves much to be desired. Okay, let me just stop at that. So we need to be smarter. Any government has to oversee, but when we send money of Americans to foreign countries, we need to be smarter. What we're doing and what it is, So I think that's going to be a conversation about foreign policy, which will be broken. But as you know, strength of NATO is also have to be from inside. Americans cannot constantly pay the check for everyone. We cannot constantly do that. We have to make sure that we have they do their job too, and Europeans step up on that too.
Our next question is from Dylan from Westfield, number 293.
Some others, I really do appreciate you being here. This is not the friendliest environment for this particular evening. After you were elected to Congress, you swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, so help me God. Since you took that oath in January, the current administration has repeatedly ignored the plain text of the Constitution by illegally dismantling agencies established by acts of Congress, your branch, even putting Elon Musk in charge of deciding which funds appropriated by your branch will or will not be spent. The president and the executive branch have stolen your exclusive constitutional authority over appropriations. As our elected representative, you should find this completely intolerable.
Microphone is not working.
So my question is, when are you going to live up to your oath, defend the Constitution, and reclaim the powers that the voters of this district have reserved for you? In other words, when are you going to start doing your job?
To hear the answer to this important question, so let's be quiet so we can hear the Congresswoman's
My
answer.
oath to the Constitution I take extremely serious. More than anything else. And you might disagree or agree. I actually departed with my party and did quite a lot of things, including the certification of election. I departed with that issue. So I do take it serious and look at things. The fiscal issue that we all the Congress look at, regardless what we like or not, and I honestly, a lot of things that President Trump is doing I like. But I want to make sure that you understand, Congress doesn't look at the 85% of what's happening. That is a broken system that we have to fix. So I am trying, so let me answer the question. I am trying to fix, because regardless what we like or don't like, Congress needs to start doing a job, passing laws, and look at appropriations. I am one person, but I forced the Speaker of the United States House to put a working group, and hopefully we'll have some result to how we can reform our budget. It's broken. So the question of the presidential branch and the money spent, impounding money, that's a constitutional question, probably should go to Supreme Court to decide, because it's an agreement on that disagreement on that issue. What they can do not, but what I try to do, regardless what they do, if Congress believes it's right, we have to put it in our appropriations, our reconciliation. If we believe it's not, so we have to start passing law. What did we pass? CR again. We continue passing CRs because it's been neglected for decades. So I've read Constitution, I understand Constitution, that's why I try to change structure. And I fought with my own previous speaker. I took my own speaker down because he didn't want to do his job. And that is not very easy. And I am working with this speaker to try to figure out how we can do a job, which is not very easy to do, coming after your own party, because I believe beyond that, I need to start doing job. You might like my words, but not. But when I have no ability even to vote on that, you have no representation or someone else who is going to be in this office. So we have to reform the structure. Until the structure is reformed, nothing is going to happen until we pass the CRs and do this. So right now I'm working on reconciliation that will have a vote of the House and the Senate, which actually can be done with 51 votes, not 60. And we are going to have things in there you're going to see. So you'll be able to see what I vote for and what we agree with President and what we're not. We have actually deliberation with White House right now, with the Senate and the House, and we have to come to an agreement, and you'll be able to do it. So hopefully we'll have some good results. I'm doing my part to find some solution to some of these issues. Unfortunately, it will have to be done on a partisan basis. Our appropriations in September will have to be bipartisan. We'll see where we're going to get there. It's very hard, but we'll see where we're going to get there.
Let's hear the question asker, please.
The point is, I want you to take those votes. What I don't want is for, after you pass whatever budget, the power that you have to allow the president, a co-equal branch, to say we will not spend that money that you are on the record allocating. So Musk, who has no constitutional role, is deciding where the money that you've decided gets spent. That's wrong, and you should want to reclaim that authority.
And that, we can have general, whether I agree or not, I agree with you. And the impoundment by that branch has to be resolved in the Supreme Court, because it was passed in our 70s, and that is an issue. That is an issue. So administration is argued one way, Congress another way, and that is, a lot of people believe it's a constitutional issue. The president can't do it. The Congress set the maximum level. If they can do better job with less money, they should be able to do it, because that's government efficiency. And a lot of Democrats believe in that. I think this is an issue the court probably should take and resolve or decide it. But regardless what it is, Congress has an ability to direct a lot of the spending in a different way if we pass specific bills, but we don't. We didn't pass even appropriations for a very long time. All of this stuff done through CR. All of this spending, this is not appropriations. We cannot even come appropriating funds. Congress has to be passing appropriations. And we are so deep in the hole that we need to have a task force to at least move the needle, or some fiscal commission at least move the needle, and we are not doing that here.
We have just 5 minutes. You're still here. Yeah. Okay, we'll bring I think she's actually. Yes. So that's my error. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, no, it's good, it's good. First of all, thanks for having this forum. I think we've heard a lot of opinions tonight. My question, words are great. Words mean nothing if there's no action. So my question is, based on the feedback tonight that you've heard, what are you going to do, and what will you have the courage to do?
So I want to make sure that, and we might have actually less disagreement what you're saying, but let me tell you, I want to make sure that we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that Congress is actually start doing its job. And I will do to make sure that Congress has as an institution, and I pick a big fight on that. That is number one thing. Number two thing, I'll make sure whatever it takes for us to make sure that we come after fraud and abuse and save programs like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid for the most vulnerable and make it better. Because we have to promise the people, we took people's money. I know that you all have concerns, and I know that you hear a lot of different things. But I'll tell you, what we're trying to do, what I personally trying to do, is to help to make sure that these programs become fiscally sustainable, that we don't have to be increasing taxes on all Americans, that we have an ability for growth of the economy, and we want to make sure that we have a good paying job and have an opportunity for people to go into the middle class and not just for very few on top. So I want to make sure to do that. I understand your frustration with President Trump and Elon and DOGE, and they were elected by the majority of Americans. That's the reality. That's the reality. President Trump was elected to be president, and he is the majority of Americans. I know, but majority of the vote, okay? Let's just say that, the majority of the vote. I know that you're frustrated, but I hope, and I know you're frustrated with Elon Musk. He just helps to order things. As you know, he doesn't have the power on the vote, right? So he helps to show transparency. The Congress will have to decide to put it law or not. And this is the reality. I know that you are very, very well frustrated, and I'll work on some farm and healthcare. We have little common ground here, so that's good, because maybe we can actually be able, but I hope you stay engaged. I know that, a lot of you frustrated, a lot of you may be upset, but I want to thank you for coming. I know that probably some issues you don't like to hear what I have to say, but hopefully we'll find some things that you like. And hopefully we'll have a discussion and conversation and continue, this dialogue. So hopefully, I appreciate you that you didn't make it so bad that my team will refuse to do next time. Also, I appreciate it very much. Hopefully, I have my voice for another 2 hours tomorrow. But I'll stay a little bit here if you have any particular questions for me and my team. I'd be happy to stick around for a little bit. I think we have it till 8 o'clock, but if they allow us to do it, I'll do that. And I want to thank everyone, and hopefully we'll continue these participations in town halls, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
So my name is Nakona Kennedy Flatt. It's spelled Nocona, last name Canady -Flatt.
And what title would you like to be used today?
I'm just a concerned citizen. I work with the Democratic Party, but I'm just here as a concerned citizen and a constituent of Victoria Spartz.
All right, can you tell me what's the cheering going on right now about?
Yeah, so
a lot of people are feeling like Victoria Spartz is not representing their needs, her constituents, and what's happening in Indiana. And so this is people protesting and demonstrating that First Amendment right and being able to come out and say, you're not doing your job for us and we don't feel represented by you.
And if I'm not mistaken, you talked about farming.
I did.
So you said it best. Indiana's a farming state.
It is.
So with her, essentially, you're saying like she's not doing her job. How concerned are you about the farming industry in Indiana?
I'm extremely concerned about it, not just in Indiana, but in the country, but specifically in Indiana, with Elon's cuts and DOGE's cuts of USAID and the Department of Education and USDA and all of these tariffs coming in. Every bit of that impacts farmers. Farmers sell their crops overseas through programs that USAID provides, and we get all kinds of resources from our farmers, and we don't eat without them. So if we're not listening to them, if we're not representing them, and if we're not doing what needs to be done and helping to keep those cuts at bay, then we're failing them.
And so, tonight was crazy. Let's just call it how it was. Tonight was crazy. Everyone wanted.
She showed up. That was important.
Do you think? So you say she showed up. Do you think showing up is half the battle?
I wish it wasn't. It seems like the easiest thing to give her credit for. It's part of her job is to show up for her constituents. But unfortunately, we've seen so many not showing up. I do appreciate the fact that she took the time to come be in person with us and not send donuts like Senator Banks did.
So, with her showing up, are you surprised by her responses to every question that was thrown at her tonight?
I would say I'm not surprised. They were expected. We expected the bob and weave. We expected the support of Trump and Elon, because that's what we've seen. That's what her voting record shows. That's what she has went and done in Washington. So at least she was true to that. I'm trying to look for minuscule bits of credit, but I think there's a big gap between showing up and then putting in the work.
And so, is there anything that I missed you would love to address to me, the media, the community, more about, what went down tonight and the importance of it?
I think one of the things that often gets overlooked about Indiana as a whole is that maybe Midwesterners don't show up or they're not engaged in politics. And I think this proves differently tonight. People showed up. People wanted their voice heard. There is clearly a division in this country and upset and anger that is occurring. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that when we go to the grocery store. We're seeing that when we're trying to take care of our families. Our farmers are definitely seeing that. Our mental health community is seeing that. Our healthcare, our education, all of it is everybody's jobs and livelihoods are being affected by choices that are being made by Victoria Spartz, Congress, Trump, Elon, Mike Braun, all of the Republicans who have had a majority for so long.
So, a couple more questions. After tonight, do you believe her? Do you trust her?
I think trust is earned, and I don't think she's done enough to earn my trust. I would like to see, she mentioned to me a farm committee that she had going on. I asked to be put on it. She said we'd make that connection later. So I'd like to see that. I'm interested in having conversations about that, having my voice heard, and also talking with her and seeing if she's willing to put in some action, especially on that issue. I think she's got a lot of work to do to earn back the trust of the people she had, and also earn the trust of the people's opinions that never really liked her. There was both here tonight.
So, final question. How are you feeling about the Hoosiers? Like you said, they showed up and showed out. How are you feeling about this community and different communities around Indiana showing up today?
I think it proves exactly what many people have been saying and feeling, especially online. We've seen that on social media. Of people are angry, people are upset. They're looking for ways to protest, to be active, to advocate, and to participate in activism in their communities. And we're seeing that politics is affecting our daily lives. It always does, But unfortunately, in this president, this administration, our governor, it just brings all of that out. And Victoria Spartz is a part of that machine, and she has chosen to align herself with those people. And so that's a choice she made, and we have to hold her responsible and accountable for that choice.
Mike Senuta.
And how do you spell that?
Senuta.
And what title would you like to use for tonight?
What title?
Yeah, title.
Resident of Carmel.
All right, so tell me a little bit, what took place in here tonight?
I did not get inside tonight. Me and my sons and a neighbor, we arrived about 45 minutes before the event was supposed to start. Thought that would be plenty of time, but there was already several hundred people in line ahead of us. We got in line and we didn't make the cut. Apparently they allowed about 500 people in. We were maybe 525 in line, so we did not get in. But we stuck around for the duration. There's probably another several hundred people outside, just talking to each other, chanting, just trying to be part of the situation tonight.
So unfortunately you weren't able to get in, but what all were you able to hear? Were you able to hear everything that was said tonight, or?
Very little, to be quite honest. We stood by the door for a little while, a small knot of people, and the officers shooed us away eventually. Apparently the event was live streamed, and somebody had a phone attached to a speaker up front here, but you couldn't hear it very well. So it was really hard to make out anything specific that was being discussed, but we could just hear a lot of agitation in the representative's voice and a lot of noise from the crowd, and it sounded pretty boisterous inside as well as outside.
So, from what you heard, are you surprised how everyone came together and, said their piece and, were you surprised that it was like this tonight?
Yes and no. I expected it to be pretty substantial, but nothing like the size of the crowd that we actually had. This is actually my 6th Spartz Town Hall. I'm kind of a regular, for better or worse, and the other ones maybe had 50 to 100 people tops. And I knew this one would be much greater than that. I thought it might be a few hundred, but I was shocked. I'm not very good at crowd management, but knowing that there was, or sizing, but knowing that they could fit 500 in there, and then seeing how big the line was, there was probably another 500 outside. So that was beyond anything I expected for tonight.
Were you happy to see Hoosiers come together tonight for, it seems like, the same reason and the same cause?
Absolutely. It's encouraging after a couple very discouraging months to see people turn out like this and really show their concern in a constructive way. The crowd was loud and boisterous, and disappointed that we were all outside, but we loudly but politely made our voices heard. Whenever the door opened, there was some chanting. I understand they could hear us inside, and it's really about Representative Spartz getting the message that there's a lot of people in her district that don't approve of her unconditional support for Donald Trump, and we're here to tell her that we're not going to lie down and tolerate it.
So if you had a question to ask her right now, what would it be?
I would ask her, I've asked her this before too, and I've not gotten much of an answer, but that does not her oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution obligate her to stand up and speak out against Donald Trump and many of his lawless or borderline lawless actions and his past calls to terminate the Constitution? The guy clearly has no regard for the law. She is bound to defend and support the law, and instead she unconditionally supports the guy. I think she's abdicating her responsibilities.
How nervous are you for these next 4 years?
I'm very nervous. I think the Trump administration has got such a head of steam going in the last couple of months, and it's actually so well organized, as they called it, the shock and awe approach to just overwhelm his opposition, the country, the Congress, even his own party. Republicans in the Senate, they're just so blown away by his day-to-day outrages that they're all basically subservient and doing nothing about it. And it's happening so fast. You know, tomorrow you forget about yesterday's outrage. And tomorrow you forget about the outrages from last week. That's by design. He has said in the past that his tactic is to flood the zone with crap. And we see that every day. There's just so much crap being put out there that it's hard to keep up with it. And he's staying one step ahead of anybody who would try to rein him in.
So, I mean, I guess a question would be, how do you keep hope going? How do you keep that hope alive during these times?
Well, I don't know, put it this way. I've never been an activist. To be out here in a protest tonight is a new experience for me. And in fact, 10 or 15 years ago, I probably would not have been able to tell you my congressperson's name. I might have, but maybe not. But I think the fact that, like myself, many others are getting equally concerned, maybe folks that in the past haven't followed politics like I haven't necessarily, are mobilizing to do something about it. So that gives me some hope. I think it needs to be more and better, and it can't just be Democrats. It's got to be independents. It's got to be disgruntled Republicans that are getting disillusioned as well, that what they were promised and sold by Trump is actually not what he's delivering. It's something very radically different. So that's the encouraging part, is more people seem to be waking up to it, but the discouraging part is maybe not enough and not soon enough the way things are going.
All right, final question, man. Is there anything I missed you would love to address to me, the media, the community, just about what happened tonight and what took place and the importance of it?
I think it's basically just reinforcing what I said before. I would say roughly 1,000 people turned out, when in every past Spartz event you might have gotten 50 to 100. And in the past, that 50 to 100 would have been 90% Trump supporters and hardcore Republicans that were very much on her side. So they would feed her softball questions and she would give softball answers. And the couple hard questions she would get would be sometimes shouted down by the crowd, and she would not give a straight answer. Tonight, as best I could tell, it was probably 95% not Trump supporters. And you know, to see her have to face the reality that what she's seen the last 4 years since she's been in office is not necessarily representative of the people that are out here in her district.